Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot him in the head.
Good evening, travelers of the night. Welcome back to The Stranger, Season 3, where the immersion of an audio drama meets the chaos and uncertainty that is Dungeons and Dragons. Today, we're joined by Matt as Nihilus von Stonen.
Remember, for all of you are lost. It is not darkness that defines us, but the light we carry within.
Asteria as Dr. Isadora Glass.
I think I heard someone had a calm emotions spell. Could I hit that?
Wit as Gilfaith.
Amidst the embrace of this dark abyss, find calm. Even the most frightening shadows must concede to the dawn.
Today we're also joined by Mike from Arcane Focus D&D. They're introducing a new D&D 5e actual play named Vintier, where a bunch of close friends play in a homebrew setting that Mike has been working on for over 4 years. Mike, is there anything you'd like to say to our listeners?
Oh, hello! Welcome, come on in. If you're hungry, we have chips. I have a sangria chilling in the freezer right now. Make yourself at home.
You just described all the things I wish I had in front of me right now.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Mike from Arcane Focus D&D. A pleasure to meet you all.
And a pleasure to have you. So without further ado, let's begin today's session. We open to a mountaintop. Over the jagged cliffside, you can see it nearly peaking as high as the mountain that the Citadel stands on. The jagged spire over in the distance through the misty air. And here, somehow the mist, it hangs still low to the ground, and you see a forest. One of the only forests on the island, but unique in its own right. Trees, taller than any living tree you've seen before. Their bases could be as wide as buildings. It would take you time to walk from one side to the next, and in the sparse units that are cut, these massive stumps show black streaks that inhabit its rings of age. This, Christoph, is a place that is familiar to you. Could you tell me what it's like here?
Well, it's certainly a little out of what I would consider comfortable. Outdoors are filled with these massive trees housing critters and creatures of all certain types and sizes. But prefer to be indoors. There's some beauty, I guess. But nature's gross, icky and slimy, wet, discomfortable. No, I don't like it here.
Christoph, my good buddy, how have you been? You see in front of you one of the burly workers who you seldom get to speak to in person, but when you do, it's because he's come with something specific. And behind him, you see a slew of carved, chopped logs that have been arranged on this almost sleigh-like contraption.
Yes, good to see you, Frank. Fred, it's something with an F.
Percival.
Right. Yes.
I'm just giving you a delivery from your family. They told you about the good news?
Yes, we're making a delivery to very important people. I think you see, Christoph, he's as much as he is benefiting from his family's business, he's not very involved. There definitely is a energy of nervousness of, like, this is my first day at work. And it's back at, Percival. Why don't you tell me what today is so special?
Very important? You mean very Van Thorn. The lady herself is looking for a delivery.
Oh, yes, the Van Thorns. Oh, yes, plenty of parties with them. Wonderful people.
Wonderful? I'm sure they are. Well, I hope you won't be late. The Van Thorns are not known for their ability to wait. But I will add, this is a good opportunity for the family. They wanted me to let you know that should all things go well, they might be sponsoring expanding to the mainland.
Oh, that's actually exciting news. Oh, grand. Yes, Papa sent me here to ensure that the delivery goes well, so let's, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a look at the goods.
Of course. And as you walk past him, crunching over the mud and dirt, the earth that's been churned from the working of these forests, you see these round logs. They're far smaller than the trees themselves. They're carved to be these cylindrical shapes. The black inlay in this wood is what makes it so unique. What's special about it is, in this harsh environment where salt fills the air, it grows and it resists corrosion. The structures built from this, they will stand. Your family house here, it has stood for ages. Well, as long as people have been back on this island, about 80 years. And one thing that this product tends to get more use in, for those who can afford it, is the nobles who purchase it to make their furniture out of, because of that beautiful little black inlay.
Christoph starts to walk around the product, the sleigh-like contraption with all the logs and lumber placed upon it. I think his attention more or less is on the overturned dirt underneath his feet as he sort of slodges through each step, ensuring that he's not getting as much dirt on his boots. Tries to keep clean as much as possible. Occasionally his eyes do go towards the wood. He's trying to investigate, but he doesn't know what he's supposed to be looking for. He knows that this is a job that his father has done for many, many years, ensuring that every piece of wood provided to these noble houses are of high quality. Quality assurance, obviously, is what we're here for. This is the first time Christoph has ever done it. And I think he just imitates looking over these logs just to get the process going. Goes, they look good. They look very good. Look at that line. Beautiful. I'm sure that the Van Thorns are going to love this. They're going to turn it into, who knows, dresser, table, chairs. Whatever they decide to make. But you're right. Time is of the essence. Looks good to me. Approved.
And then you remember standing at the base of the citadel. I'm sure for your first shipment, there would have been just as many whoops, dropped this, nicked that, but for the most part, it got there all in one piece and in a good state. Looking down at your boots, wiping them, the dirt off the cobblestone, now these paved city streets. You look up at this spire in the middle. The walls around the citadel are thick and old, and most of your middle-class people will live inside of them. Climate controls to scrub the air. Those who are less fortunate live in the open air, in these wooden leaning structures, lumber that was imported. They can't afford crow wood, you see. And as you look up, you see the jagged edges of the spire, a little nick out of the top, and a hook that almost looks like a perch. Likely why we call it crow's perch. And before you, an inspector for the Citadel allows you entry into the elevator. Yeah, all looks good to me. Which level, which family is it?
We're going to the Van Thorns.
Lucky you.
Yes.
He gets around the side and helps you push this heavy contraption onto the elevator and steps out as the door closes. And its heavy mechanical mechanisms start lowering you. It goes so deep that your ears pop. It's so far beneath the ground, it takes time to get there. But for the first time, you get to see how the Van Thorns, and more notably, all of the noblest families live. Whereas the middle class, they live in the walls. Some wealthier might live lower down in the upper levels of the carved earth that used to be mine shafts that were converted. The salty, arid landscape above, contrasting as the elevator opens, a lush green landscape beneath the earth, almost made to mimic what you might see in green pastures on the mainland. All for a scant few of the island's wealthiest.
I think Christoph is impressed. There is clearly a look of excitement. The only time he's ever interacted with any of the higher nobles have been whenever his mother hosted parties in their own sizable housing. His father very much is one to rub elbows with these higher nobles, but he's never been invited, so this is the first time. Excitement, almost drinking every image in. There's a bit of a bounce to his step. Kind of looks over to Percival. First time. Oh, this is going to be exciting. We're going to get in off this island into the mainland. It's going to be great.
I can't leave. You're going to get to the mainland, and your family will sponsor some noble house. I'll just be working the forests. I'm sure you knew that. Right, Christoph?
He places a hand on Percival and goes, "You're right. You're going to stay here." And just starts to walk forward, fully uncaring of how he's going to process the response.
And as you step forward, the sleigh, it moves with mechanical purpose alongside you. And Percival, he stays behind. You see the guards are a different caliber here, and with no words is communicated that it's only you beyond this point. And you enter into almost a fairy tale-like castle. Again, just the absurdity of this place. And down a corridor, and finally to a room. Large, empty, and round. Standing inside, you see a woman of clear power. Dressed nicely, everything tight to the body, hair tied back, arms crossed as if expecting you. And you push this sleigh through the large, arched metal door, the only metal door in this place. As it slows to a stop in this empty room, she looks down at the goods. All accounted for, I presume.
Yes, Lady Van Dorn. The Bordoon family, once again, thanks your patronage. And hopefully you enjoy the wonderful selection of lumber for whatever needs you may have.
I'm building a table. She steps forward and puts her hand on the top piece of lumber. Immaculate quality. As to be expected from the Bordoon family. Thank you for delivering it.
Of course. Everything vetted by myself. Ensure that the highest quality reaches you. I don't suppose you have any Schwindigs coming in later this week, or something that perhaps I can get an invite to.
Of course. Yes. I hate to ask, but this is your first time delivering to me. Why did they send you?
You're... my father, Eldance, thought it'd be appropriate that I get more involved within the family business.
That's good. She looks towards the door, and you see her gesture her head to the left. One of the guards of the two there, he scurries off down the hall. Could you please unstrap this for me? I'd like to inspect it further.
Of course. Yes. Starts to look for tools that he obviously put in the wrong pocket. The right things. Starts to cut some of the straps. In a neat and orderly fashion. Well enough for a display for the Lady Van Dorn.
And this was your first noticing that there was something more to this person, this Lady Van Thorn. The logs, they're heavy. Usually take 2 people to load onto a sleigh like this. And with her hand, she pushes the top one over to the side, letting it roll over, hitting the bracket to reveal the inner logs on her own. And did you assemble this yourself?
Yes. All myself. I take full credit. You're going to love this.
You see Percival is taken to the doorway. He's visible through this frame of the door with a guard standing behind him. And the first time you noticed that something was amiss was when the guard's hands pushed him down to his knees, almost in a position of execution, and a blade is put to Percival's throat.
Wait, what's going on? Did I do something wrong?
I'm so disappointed in the Bordoons this time. They were among my favorite up-and-coming families. Your shipment, she takes her finger and she runs it over the innermost log, and you see moisture collected, a drop of water running down her hand. She shakes it off. A trap. I expected more from you.
Kristoff, his eyes go small, a shiver in his breath each time he takes one. Hands start to almost curl up, almost like a child, up to his chest. Clearly not ready for this type of response and was not aware. But goes, but I'm sure there was some sort of misunderstanding.
No misunderstanding. You packed this sleigh yourself, and you included tainted water containing feather rot.
I don't even know what that is.
She nods to the guard, and blade sinks into his body, and his lifeless body falls to the floor.
I can get you new lumber. Anything you want.
I think most powerfully will just be a simple message to the Bordoon family. Not to... I hate to lower myself. As she walks across towards one of the portraits that are firmly mounted to the wall and begins running her finger along the upper picture frame. Not to fuck with the Van Thorns. And there is a click. And the floor opens like a hatch instantly. It's as if there's not even a minute to process. The next thing you feel is nothing beneath your feet and the sensation of falling.
All I can do is inhale. Kristoff loses his breath, looks up and can only see the light from the hole, and small bits of tears start to form. First time in his life, he's been pampered and given everything he wanted for all of his life. What money his family has given him has only landed him here in this endless darkness. I think the last pathetic words out of his mouth is, "Wait!"
It echoes up, and as you continue to fall, the lumber, it fell along with you. The sleigh, that was the first thing to crash down, crumbling the rocks and earth of this hand-carved tunnel in the ground. The lumber itself, it's awkward and long and large, and it doesn't just fall straight down, but it batters off the sides. You nearly have to avoid it as it clips on one wall and twists and smashes into the left side. And what started as yourself and a few logs is now splinters and wood and rock and earth and boulders that are falling down along with you. It goes for ages. It gives you time to think. And I wonder, as you fall, what are his last thoughts?
Kristoff's last thoughts are a dream picture, just something that he's made up in his mind many, many years ago, of being on a ship seeing a large mainland in the horizon, and leaving this damn island. I think the last thing in his mind as this image flashes is but the dream, and falls onto the ground.
Really is hard to imagine what it must be like to impact the ground at such a velocity, probably maximum velocity that you could pick up over the entirety of a shaft like this that goes deep into the earth. And maybe it's a lot like a light switch. You impact so hard that there's nothing between your bodily functions and the earth but a sliver. Maybe it just goes dark like that. And that's it. A few seconds go by. You don't even hear the thud. You don't hear anything for that matter. Then a few minutes go by. And you might as well exist in an infinite void of nothing. You are nothing. This is it. It's over. But then a few hours go by. And all you feel is cold. So cold. You might as well be in a blizzard, a shiver that you can't absolve of. And then a few days goes by, and you feel wet and icy. That feeling, it's not like you might feel in your fingers when you touch something on your desk or in your space. It's spread across a plane. You are on the bottom of this pit, no longer a body, but you are a pile of meat. But then as a few months go by, more and more senses start to gather back. It's cold, it's wet, you're tired, you're hungry, you're not feeling a plane of earth. You're starting to feel that you have some semblance of control, of movement. And those few months, those were the worst. But you could start to tell that something was happening. You're not dead. In fact, you're getting better. And that's when memory finally comes back to you. And you would do anything in your power to not have memory. Because that means the sensation of your body slowly coming back, piece by piece, the agony that comes of it would have faded just as quickly as it came. And just towards the end of it, there's a twitch, and you can feel you're able to move. As we will fade away from this scene, as we emerge upon another group that may have fared a similar fate had it not been for the quick and deft actions of a falling inquisitor, Nihilus von Stonen, who with several skill checks was able to repeatedly cast Featherfall on everybody who was plummeting to their certain death. And where we left off, we had just leveled up, and that's where we opened to this dark and sticky and murky cavern, pile of skeletons at the base of this hole, with some having maybe survived a fall but crawled just far enough to die elsewhere, with bioluminescence just revealing the slightest amount of light to see the living rot and filth and moss and life that now inhabits this cavern.
Nihilus looks around with an empty face, feeling exhausted, hurt, wounded, confused. A ton of emotions carry around behind him, and all there is for him to focus on is those who fell with him down. as he turns to them. He asks in a grunted voice, "Don't know about you, but I'm not sure we're gonna like that we survived the fall. Looking around this place, all I sense is death."
Nihilus, I do have a suspicion that you're going to be sensing death wherever you are.
You felt that too, right? You were bandaging me up, you were giving me your medicine, and it burned from inside. I don't know what I'm changing into. I don't think this is the time to find out. Oh, I'm exhausted.
Gilfaith pulls the Chancellor's hand out of his body and sees the drops of blood around his fingers. His own blood on the Chancellor's claws. What are you doing to me? Why? The fungus and the mushrooms, they're so bright. He looks around at the two of you, sees Dr. Glass and Nihilus.
I won't survive this, Gilfaith. I'm giving you what I have.
Surely there's something we can do for you. There has to be.
The Vanthorn, she will win against me, not you.
It's so bright in here. So much light.
The Chancellor, looking withered and tired, he sits onto the ground pensively with his legs crossed and almost goes into a meditative position.
I have some of the vials. Could you not use some? They could help.
They're yours.
Gilfaith turns his back on him and goes and joins the other two. I am so sorry. As he approaches, you can see this gleam has gone over his eyes like an animal, such as a wolf in the night that's catching the last rays of starlight. I'm so sorry.
What exactly are you saying sorry for? What happened up there? Who was that?
I believe that the Chancellor was under a charm, and I broke it. But before that, his charm extended to me, and I reached out to the two of you and tried to grab you, and I'm sorry.
When you tried to grab us, it felt dark, unlike that performance you gave earlier. It felt like something else entirely.
It's actually all connected. It's part of the dance, you see. It's what makes the show so entertaining. But I did not mean to turn it on you.
That's very kind of you, Mr. Wolverton. I watched my friends murder me, and they weren't being controlled. So this... water under the bridge.
Indeed. If we're gonna get out of this place, we're gonna need to do so together. As he grabs a Mordecai's skull, he lifts it up in the air, a weak and muscled arm, and he shouts out, "Luck!" as he casts a light cantrip on it to illuminate the way.
Okay, so I'm gonna interrupt here. Nihilus, you just cast a spell. What is the spell you just cast?
The cantrip light.
Okay. Now, we're going to use this as an opportunity to demonstrate a new mechanic for you and for Dr. Glass. Only the two of you, for now, have this mechanic. And I could, as a DM, call it with every time you cast a spell, because that's a little bit of how it's prepared, but instead we're going to add the narrative element to, I'll call for usage of this mechanic when it seems like an opportune or interesting time. This mechanic is called Restraint. You, Nihilus von Stonen, and you, Dr. Isidore Glass, are meddling with powers far outsized for the people of this world, or even yourselves. And your ability to cast your magic is amplified to a level that is unfathomable. But you're still level 6. The way that this mechanic works, I will call for a restraint check. I can call that at any time. I'll do so most of the time when it's most interesting. And that'll be after you cast a spell or use a magical ability. You will roll a d20 restraint check. The DC is going to be determined by the spell's level plus 10. You can get other modifiers for this. It's modified by your proficiency bonus, and there is an additional secret modifier that certain magic items may impart on you. On a success, the spell or ability, it works as intended. And then a failure, I as the DM will choose an outsized effect of appropriate proportion to happen here. Cantrip is 0, so it's a DC of 10. I will, in this case, create an immediate and instant fail for Nihilus. That is just to demonstrate what an outsized effect might look like. This is the first time that you are using magic after some things have changed within your attunement to magic. So as you cast this light, all of the bioluminescence first starts to glow in this cavern. It glows brighter and brighter to a harsh, bright light until it sizzles and simmers away, leaving just darkness. And then the essence from these creatures, these living things, starts to gather in the center. The bioluminescence gathers into a ball and illuminates the way that the light cantrip might do so, with all of those living things now expended for the spell.
My source of damnation. I can't even do the semblances of spells anymore. Ugh.
You know that you now have some outsized power, and this is your first introduction to needing the ability to regulate how you cast your spells for restraint. Otherwise, they will run out of control. And I would say, Nihilus and Dr. Glass, you will recognize this.
Nihilus, with a saddened face, simply holds up the skull, almost being sad of the life essence he took away from doing so. Yet he turns around to the rest of the party with that same saddened face, and he gestures for them to step forward, to move somewhere in the darkness.
Dr. Glass gives a laugh that says, "Of course. Oh, Nihilus, it's silly how alike you and I are. You're so precocious, treading my path so much faster than mine was trod. And here I was, impatient with you all this time." She turns to Gilfaith.
Can you not see?
In the dark? No, I am merely human. My God has not bestowed upon me these gifts. I need the light in order to see my path.
Are you irritated by the light, Mr. Wolverton? And she appraises him in that invasive doctorly way, without touching him, but getting a little close, looking up and down at his eyes.
No. As we were falling, it seemed very dark, but now this cavern is illuminated as if by day for me. I can lead the way for us, if you like.
It is? You must have a really good general doctor then, if that's the case, because all I see is darkness to the vast expense. A question. How large this space is?
Roll perception.
Will do. For a total of 18.
You close your eyes and you listen intently to the scale of this place, with people's voices serving as your metric. And you hear them echo down what seems to be one large corridor, and in several directions, even. This space you're in is like a dead end. Dead, I guess, being the operative term, but it sounds like it could go for quite a distance in one direction. But as you listen carefully, you hear the skitter of rocks that have tumbled off of a ledge. A place as still as this wouldn't usually have movement. And so that tells you that there's something there just beyond one of these corners.
I am going to detect thoughts to search for thinking beings.
Interesting. It's surface level thoughts. So I wonder, Christoph, what first impression might somebody get if they hear surface level thoughts from this dark corridor that you are in?
Is Christoph aware of these new people?
Yes, you heard them right away. And first reaction was to find a quiet place to duck into. But now that you've had a moment to contemplate, you can react to this how Christoph might.
I think immediately what Dr. Glass would hear surface thoughts is, I've never made them talk to each other before. Wow, this is going to be a good party.
And Dr. Glass can't help but smile. And she says into the minds of her two party mates, we're not alone. There's a person down here who sounds like they've been down here for some time. The poor thing. Whether they're good or bad, they could be dangerous. We should proceed with caution, but optimism, in my professional opinion.
Or they could be in need of help, assistance.
Oh, they certainly are in need of help and assistance, but they're probably out of their mind, from what I hear. Whether temporarily or permanently.
The cavern goes this way. The two of you, follow my voice and reach out and take my hand.
Before we go, do we have any way of making it seem like we died? A way of leaving fake corpses? I don't know the extent of your magical gifts. It would just be a nice little perk if Lady Evelyn could think for a little bit that, if she comes to check, if they were just...
I have a feeling that if she wanted us dead and wanted to be very surely that we were dead, she would have killed us at the spot. I feel like she's playing with us, tormenting us, making us crawl for effort for her entertainment.
Well, precisely, and I'd love for her to be disappointed for a little bit and see our bodies and go, oh, well, I guess they weren't worth toying with. I won't hunt them. Just to give us a head start. But I don't have anything that would, last more than an hour or, we wouldn't be bones. We would look like us. So probably not, just checking.
I think from around the corner, you, still with the detect thoughts lasting for quite a while, would hear, and go! And you all hear something sailing through the air, dropping onto the stone with a heavy thud. It starts to roll with an oblong shape and into your purview with a light. It looks like a white gourd with a carved face on it, and you hear from beyond the corner, Jarvis, the kings and queens are here. Take their coats and show them into the grand hallway.
Gilfaith, seeing this gourd, smiles. I believe you're right, Glass. This man does need our help. And he takes off his coat.
I just can't leave my work at the office, can I? Young man, we have Jarvis, and we're willing to parley.
Is he doing his job? Is he taking your coats?
Yes, he is quite well-mannered. Quiet.
I first time for everything, really. He's kind of a chatterbox to me. Please, come into the grand hallway. You're in the antechambers. Would love to show you around.
All right, I misread that a little bit.
As did I.
I suppose now we'll take tea amongst the bones and the... Well, let's see what happens. Should I bring the gourd? By I mean one of you. And she goes off.
One hand holding his coat and the other hand scooping up the gourd. Gilfaith makes his way towards the grand hall, as it would be.
You walk through these damp corridors. It might have not always been like this. The overgrowth seems to be more recent because it still grows its way into the cracks and crevices, eroding this cavern. And as you step through, hitting stone, water, and moss occasionally, you step into the grand hall. And as they do so, Christoph, can you describe the grand hall and yourself?
First of all, with the grand hall, what you see through the use of a quickened pace erosion is a flat surface for the floor, jagged pillars that reach out from the ground, going up into the ceiling that's not very high, to almost make it mimic a castle. There are numerous pumpkins and gourds with just jagged faces in a childlike fashion, all of them drawn with what looks to be like makeshift swords made out of, once again, skin of a gourd. Some of them already starting to rot. There are mushrooms and moss growing from the ground, from the ceiling. And standing in front of you is a fairly young man, built in stature, sort of a green cloak that looks like it's been tattered and worn and stained through a period of time. I won't say just yet, but some leathers and what looks to be almost like vines growing out of his skin. The green vines pierce through cheek and bone. One actually, there's a leaf that comes out of his eye that every time he blinks, he almost does it in almost like an annoyed fashion. There seems to be petals and moss growing out of his skull and his hair, interweaving what looks to be brown, long hair now. And he has bright green eyes. He kind of stands a little more tall, standing at about 6'2", plucks one of the vines out of his cheek and goes, "Sorry, need to make myself presentable." And you start to see a little trickle of blood coming from the vine that was plucked out of his cheek. "Welcome to the Bordoon Castle. Pleasure to have you all." And he starts to almost warily make his way towards you all, closing the distance. Who seems a little less afraid or isn't as concerned with their personal space?
Nihilus. He is standing at the back, but he doesn't seem shaken or shook, but more intrigued. Without even realizing, he already comes closer to inspect, with a very curious mindset and a little bit of a smile.
I think slowly a hand reaches for your hand, just for to shake it.
Well, I suppose greetings is a take. I'm Nihilus von Stoner. No, I'm not at my best.
The moment our hands touch, Christoph jumps back. You're real. You're real. You're not the pumpkin. You're not the gourd. You're not just a voice. You're real. And then immediately puts two hands on your shoulders and gives you a very shiver touch.
Real and careful. My, you are strong.
Please, apologies. You're real. Oh, did you come from the top?
Well, more like fell.
If I'm...
we are real, yes. Are you real? What am I looking at? Are you alright? You seem alright, but you're not alright, are you? Have you been here by yourself?
Yes, I kind of looks over towards the gourds that are lining the hallway. No, yes, I've been here by myself for... I haven't even counted. It's quite hard. And I think he will glance over all of you, and I think he might recognize one of you through an illustration. And kind of looks towards Wolverton.
Gilfaith is looking at you with such care and such interest, and a slight smile.
You were meant to come to entertain the higher-ups. It's only been a few weeks then. How long have you been here?
Oh, not long. But you have that right. I'm Gilfaith. Lovely to meet you.
He puts the hand out to you.
Yes. How long have you been here? On the island?
A few months at least.
No, it's not right. Any? You were meant to come here. There was a call for you. And I think at this point, Kristoff rushed to realize that through all the emotional acts it takes to get someone over here, planning conversations to get someone as you scheduled here for entertainment. It's years.
Can I eyeball him and see if Dr. Glass can tell roughly how long he's been down here by the state of him? Or is it so long that it wouldn't register?
I would call here a medicine check.
Great. That's a natural 1 for a 7. There's a lot on my mind.
You certainly can't determine how long he's been here. Not with a natural 1, not with the state of him in this state of delusion even. But with or without a natural 1, there are some obvious things that you could determine. And one of which is by the pale of his skin, the growth, its ununiform nature, maybe not exactly the same, but you would identify similarities to feather rot. And at this state, especially with the way he looks, that might be the only thing that holds him together even.
Interesting. We weren't at that House of Healing very long, but did we learn anything about feather rot while we were there?
You could tell that the way it afflicts its ill is non-uniform. Some grow very obvious, grotesque feathers, but that's the only common aspect between all of those who are afflicted. Some, their face deforms. Others, they lose access to their limbs. It's very abstract and obscure how it affects each person. And you know what? I'd like an insight check. And this is with relative narrative importance. The DC is going to be a 15.
I got a 22 insight.
Okay. Thinking back on the illnesses you saw at the hospital, there was one other thing that was common between them. Or maybe not common, but noticeably different. Is that each one was so unique, it almost felt personified. And though you don't know what that might be, that specific personification, there's some element of who the person is that influences how this illness develops within them.
So it's like there's a psychological component.
Yes. The shared contemplative silence befalls the room for a moment, and Kristoff, you can almost feel the analysis happening from everyone. And you also feel the cold wind behind you. There are many corridors here. There's one that you never traveled down.
Well, you don't know how happy I am to see new faces. Truly, you said your name was Nihilus. Yes?
Yes, Nihilus von Stolen, at your service.
Varnstone. Oh, okay. Mr. Wolverton, hello. To Glass, I did not catch your name.
She thinks for a second about saying Dr. Obedience Bartok. She really likes that fake name, but she says, Isadora, dear. Just call me Isadora.
Welcome, Isadora. Once again, my name is Kristoff Bordoon, and you are in my manor. Got the grand hall, truly. We have many rooms here.
Lore question. I forget if Bordoon is one of the family names we've interacted with. Van Thorn is the only family that's only on the island, right? Bordoon would exist in Sovereign Sea Gate as well.
without a check, you would have heard the name Bordoon before in passing. Likely, first thing that comes to mind is one of the many minor noble families.
Do you think Dr. Glass would have encountered that in her hunt for the conspiracy that led her to this island when she was gathering info on the families to find Felix and figure out why Nexus-bound people were being shipped off here?
You know what? Let's do something fun with this. Can you get me a history check with a DC of 10? 50-50 chance, except for modifiers. And if you pass, let's explore a possible past where you have encountered that name.
18 history. I'm really glad I passed that one, because this sounds fun.
Interesting. Okay. This was years ago. Some ambiguous, maybe 5 to 8. And where was Dr. Glass about 5 to 8 years ago?
5 to 8 years ago, she was still in Glave's watch, a resident at the Watchful Rest Hospital, before she had her big betrayals, just little everyday betrayals of being the only woman doctor and the only person trying to talk about ethical care in a very stodgy institution. I don't think she'd even met Emil yet.
Okay. Christoph, you haven't always lived on this island, though most of your life you have. On occasion you would travel. A noble family is allowed that. And coming to and from the island, you would have taken the ship Her Royal Rose, a famous, if not old, vessel that is capable of braving the salt in the event of the saturation for a short period of time. It's the only vessel that can, thus it's the only ferry vessel to and from the island of Crowperch. And on one of these many excursions, crowwood, it does get shipped out. It's an expensive export. And you made your way all the way to Glave's Watch, past the Sovereign Sea Gate, along the Sea of Sablemere, to a fortress-like city that borders Kirenstone, so well known for constantly being at war with Kirenstone, off and on again, will they, won't they, the whole 9 yards. And on one of those excursions, there was a delivery to a institution. This was your first faux delivery. Your family came along with to show you the ropes. And Dr. Glass, you, of all people, because the entire staff was too busy and too disinterested to do menial work, even as an accomplished psychologist in your field, are asked to do the menial task of accepting a delivery. And this memory, it comes to both of you at the same time, and we'll experience it too. Dr. Glass, you stepped into the vestibule of this institution where shipments come and go, and you see this sleigh of crowwood that has come a very long way to be here. And making his first ever supervised delivery, Christoph. Let's see where this goes.
Hello, ma'am. Could you please accept... Papa, what was the line you gave me?
This illustrious shipment of crowwood from Crow's Perch.
This illustrious shipment of crowwood from Crow's Perch.
Very good.
Yes, I accept. Is there something you need me to sign?
And a well-built figure steps past Christoph and hands you a clipboard with a paper on it.
You see a dark-haired 50-something woman, no cane, no limp, spry, but looking very underslept and over-caffeinated. Lot of dark, bitter tea with a stack of papers under her arm. Here, no, just give it to me. And she gestures for one of them to turn around so she can use his back as a desk.
That's going to be you, boy.
But Dad, yes, sir, of course. Turns around, leans at a bit of a degree, and allows you to see a broadened-shouldered individual, looking way healthier than the person you're looking at now.
And she slaps the receipt, the bill of receipt, on his back, and signs it briskly and forcefully.
Okay, easy.
Oh, all right. You're making fun of me, I'm sure. Anything else? What? I haven't done this before. What am I supposed to do with this now?
Oh, hold on, I have something for this. Thank you once again for the delivery. We have this survey that talks about our services. If you can go ahead and rate us a 5, we'd very much appreciate it.
And she's looking at what she just signed. Wait, was I supposed to inspect this before I signed? What would I inspect it for? Oh.
Takes the paper from you. Don't worry about that, you're fine.
Well, I doubt anyone else here does quality control. I would probably be the first. Yes, give me the survey. I'm very interested in filling it out.
Dad, did you bring the survey?
I think you're on your own here, boy. You brought up the survey. Did you bring it?
Didn't bring the survey.
Why'd you mention it then, huh?
Because you gave it to me in the cards.
Thank you for purchasing crowwood from Crow Perch. Don't come to the island. It's a nightmare. Have a good day.
I was there once as a girl. Wasn't a nightmare then.
It's different now. Come on, boy. And he grabs your hand and starts trying to pull you out.
And now he's done the worst thing he could possibly do, which is draw Dr. Glass's interest. I deal in nightmares every day. Would you tell me a little more?
He turns. Beautiful beaches. Stay in Port Hillcrest if you go. The rest of it is not so great. I'm not allowed to say more.
Huh, all right.
What do we say when we're saying goodbye to a customer?
Thank you again for your purchase. Hopefully everything is up to your standards.
Good boy. And drags him out. And that memory comes back to you simultaneously, having now recognized one another.
Oh, you were the sales clerk, the receptionist, down at the institution.
You were the idiot boy.
Oh, you're sounding like my sisters now.
Sorry, that was the term at the time.
Dr. Glass, you work as a receptionist. I don't know if I expected this of you, but the more you learn, so old friends then.
Small world.
Old friend. I don't know. That you know what a receptionist is? In any event, how did you go from that to down here? Probably something to do with the nightmares your father couldn't tell me about.
Well, my father's very, he likes to keep things professional. Oh, wait, I can talk about how I got here, but for a moment, you just dropped down, yes?
Yes.
Did you see my father? Did you see my father? I'm sure there were posters everywhere, wondering what happened to me. I'm sure they're looking. Are the rumors, people looking for a lost son? Anything?
None of you have heard anything about it. There's no check to be had.
I don't know that a Van Thorn would even allow such circulation to be had.
Sorry, my boy.
I think you see the already gaunt-looking face of Christoph, a bit malnourished, kind of slumps, looks almost with a 1,000-yard stare. Oh. Okay. I understand.
What was your name again? Christoph?
Christoph, yes.
Christoph. The whole reason I'm here is because the Van Thorns, or somebody, actually, I'm not even sure, it's them that I was chasing. They make people disappear entirely. People I saw every other day, their families wouldn't talk to me about their existence. That's what happens on this island.
Did the Van Thorns happen to you all? how you got down here?
It was a little mutual. We have happened to the Van Thorns, to be fair. I don't know about you, Mr. Wolverton, actually.
I was just meant to have tea, but they get rid of nobles who have any chance of getting in their way, it would appear. After all, you are a Bordoon, are you not, Christoph?
Yes. We are, yes. Our family deals in exquisite lumber. And I was delivering a delivery to the Van Thorn, the Lady Van Thorn. She said there was a trap of some sort. And last thing I felt was the floor giving out underneath my feet.
And you survived down here all this time?
I think that 1,000-yard stare of maybe a bit of sadness through the eye turns into a bit of a shock of that memory. The memory of the vines, the spores, the plant life, the water. You all see around you the plant life almost begin to pulse, bioluminescent, giving a bit of brighter shock of white. Yes, I survived. It allowed me to.
There's a groan of wind down the cavern that now becomes just a little more audible to everybody in the room. You feel that cold breeze come from a dark place not illuminated by this bioluminescence. And just as quickly as it starts, it stops.
Well, I'm not going to spend years down here.
Yeah, it's a safe place so long as you don't go down, as long as you don't go outside the front door.
There's a door? There's an exit?
I don't know. It leads to the grand yard, where we have fountains, and pretty birds. But I don't go out that way.
Although it is an interesting meeting that we're having right now. Acquaintances and all that. Is this place safe? I'm feeling exhausted and hurt and wounded. I need to rest.
That is a fair point.
I have a library I can show you too. It's a nice place where everyone can rest. Couches, a fireplace.
That would be much appreciated.
Are they couches and a fireplace? She holds up a hand. Or are they pumpkins, Christoph?
They'll make do.
All right. Well, perhaps we can fairy godmother it a bit.
Thank you for your graciousness in welcoming us to your home.
Of course. He leads you down one of the many corridors here, within the grand hall, as it were, through what looks to be almost like a corridor that's been shaped, man-made almost. There are numerous, not even doors, just archways that lead into other rooms. That's the bedroom, the guest rooms. That is where we have the billiards table, and it leads you to the right to just an empty cavern, like an alcove with not pumpkins, but some of the stone here can be sat on. It's almost at waist level. There's a bit of a divot where there are bits of broken wood. There would be a fire, but it's not lit. It's all just facsimile of nobility living.
Oh, splendid. This is lovely, Christoph. Oh, and you have a piano. Is it in tune? And she goes over to outcrop in the rock and puts a finger out and uses minor illusion to create the sound of a piano key. Oh, lovely. And she plays the piano, quote unquote, with minor illusion to do Song of Rest when they eventually rest.
Interesting. Trailing behind Gilfaith, you feel a cold hand on your arm. This is Chancellor Legrand, and he almost seems to be ushering you to stop moving forward while everybody else continues into this space.
Unable to resist that cold pull, he turns. Yes?
Gilfaith, I chose you personally. You're a very promising student.
I thank you. Kid Goldberg taught me so well.
He reaches into his robes and he pulls out what looks to be a knife, but it's made of wood.
Take it.
He reaches out a trembling hand and takes it. What?
Gilfaith, the Van Thorns have too much over me. If we make it out, I will surely be a liability.
I don't understand. I don't understand what you're asking me to do. You can't just stay down here.
This knife. Here.
And he points to his chest.
Chancellor, no. And without being able to resist, he lunges forward, not even knowing that he can't even control it. And in an instant, the wooden dagger is already plunged into Chancellor Legrand's chest. No.
You see the edges of that driven wooden knife start to turn to ash. And they, starting where the knife is, start to float into the air like that over a bonfire before they settle on the ground next to you.
Gilfaith, you will obey this command.
As it continues to travel, now his chest has started to turn to ash.
He's grasping at the ashes, trying to collect them as they're starting to dissipate.
You will survive, and you will take my place as Chancellor.
I love the Goldberg College. There's no denying that. And it feels like there's no denying your statements here. Although I feel I could never take your place, Chancellor. I will do as you say.
The ash now travels up his neck into his head, and the last movement you see from his mouth is,
You. Last command.
I will obey. I will.
the knife now falls onto the ground out of his chest. This quiet interaction, relatively speaking, just a moment before you stepped into that room. You even see Dr. Glass creating a minor illusion sound of a piano.
How lovely. Picks up the dagger and joins in. Oh, such a lovely library you have here. He takes his briefcase, takes a brief glance toward the golden bug on the outside of the briefcase. Beautiful design, now radiating this warm light with his new eyesight. And he opens the gramophone, lets it unfold, and puts on a silent tune, not to interfere with Dr. Glass's performance, but casting his own illusions of comfort. An actual fireplace where there was only a stone, turning rocks into luxurious cushions and sofas. I think I'll sit here on the chaise while you play, Dr. Glass.
Please do. We need our creature comforts, don't we?
We are creatures of comfort, after all.
For the first time in a long time, Christoph, this nervous twitch in his arm and just sort of body, he starts to warm up a little bit. The fact that you're all bringing this to the table. This is nice. I miss this. Thank you all. The best house gift I have ever received.
Well, there was a bottle of wine, however, it's been shattered at the bottom of that chasm.
You mentioned that you were hungry, yes? And tired and thirsty?
So hungry.
Right. There is a kitchen. Stay here, enjoy yourself. I'll be back with some snacks. Perhaps that satiate the hunger.
You have, for the first time in a while, a bit of downtime. We haven't had downtime much in this campaign, have we? One of the most notable that I remember is underneath the salted stout in a hovel in the ground with an eclectic engineer. But you have this bit of downtime, and there is something that I will enact in this downtime, something that will be noticed, but in the meantime, I don't get often a chance to ask this, but what are you doing on your downtime?
Nihilus will use that time in order to try to study, attune, understand more between the relationship he has with Mordecai, trying to copy what happened with Sam, trying to go into the skull in order to have a conversation, trying to get your own space of a world, actually getting a conversation up with Mordecai from his own instigation without it being out of need. Every time so far that he's called upon Mordecai, it was in a high pressure situation, and now he wants to sit down, talk, connect without the desperation, I suppose. And if, for example, Mordecai doesn't react, then he's going to continue copying spells in his spellbook.
Okay. We'll come back to that in a moment. Gilfaith, are you doing anything on this downtime? You don't have to be. Just checking.
Gilfaith is trying to come to terms with accepting what's happened to Chancellor Legrand and also accepting the command that he was given. That's in the back thought of his mind to what else is going on as he spends this time really focusing on getting to know Kristoff and strengthening his bond with Dr. Glass and Nihilus.
Okay. And then lastly, Dr. Glass. I'm not going to ask you what you're doing on this downtime because for this first moment that you have some time to exist, to feel, to think, you have long been developing this ability to feel the energies around you, the psychic energies at that. And so because you have an attunement for it, when something brings it off balance, that stands out to you. And you notice that there's a certain something that stands out immeasurably. A small silver tarnished necklace.
Yes, Dr. Glass grabbed that off Lady Evelyn in a fit of pique. She was going to take something with her. God's damn it. But she was very confused that Lady Evelyn would wear anything tarnished. So what's so special about this necklace? And now it's off. So the piano becomes a player piano. She had wanted to get her practice in, but she lets the piece continue on its own and pulls the necklace from her pocket and looks at it while the others are occupied.
Why would Lady Evelyn Van Thorn wear a tarnished necklace when everything about her is as wealthy and proper as the Van Thorn name is in Crow Perch? And that coming to mind, as you look it over, it's very delicate. But again, it's tarnished. It's a crescent, it looks like. And the chain is fine. You feel like if you pull too hard, you might snap it. But the harder you pull, the more firm that chain is, despite being almost like a thread. And you can feel that it radiates something. There is a psychic energy to this. You remember the sensation of delving your psychic energies into the cane and they sink in infinitely. And this one isn't infinite. It's deep. But you notice if you focus on it, you could reach the bottom and maybe get more insight into this strange piece taken from the matriarch Van Thorn herself.
Yes, please. Isadora wants to know how mad Lady Evelyn is going to be that I have this. She hopes it's very.
You sink your thoughts into this piece. They sink deeper and deeper, and you reach a bottom. You can get a landscape for where you are as you think about this space. And the first thing you notice is your psychic energies, they feel amplified in here. You feel that if you could cast your magic, your energy, a certain distance, you might be able to reach a bit farther and a bit stronger and more powerfully. Technically speaking, your spell save DC and spell attack bonus would both increase by 2. Additionally, as you analyze this space that you're in, it feels like it's wound up, like a music box where you turn the screw to set off the music. And though it might need time to turn yet again, you feel as though once per day, once per long rest that is, you can use this necklace to maximize the damage of any spell that you can cast that deals damage. And there's one more thing. Being in here, you feel more control of yourself and your abilities, and channeling through this space would add a +2 to rolls for restraint. And being here in this place, the almost security that it gives you, you can see why Lady Vanthorn would have such interest in it. It is quite literally a technical boon to your ability to use psychic magics. And while you float in this space, analyzing all of the waves of psychic energy that it can amplify for you, the entryway closes, and you feel your consciousness stuck here. You sense that your body is outside, but your mind is here. Its walls, though comforting, now feel like walls of an asylum. And you hear, "There you are."
Well, finally. Someone does something intelligent, at least. You were right. That Lady Evelyn was very disappointing.
You all are. Disappointing, that is. Each a little piece of a puzzle, but chaotic.
Well, I hadn't realized you were going to be disrespectful. It's hard to find a worthy opponent on this island. I think my front runner is Dr. Faust right now. That's not how things should be. Well, you've got me. In the last place I wanted to be. And now I'm a genie in a lamp.
I've only got you for but a moment. I sensed you in a familiar place, and your doors will open very soon, Doctor.
Ooh, sweet talker.
You're holding something that belongs to somebody of mine, but I get it. Must be helpful to you. Just know that put this on, and the journey doesn't stop.
We both know I'm going to put it on. Aren't I one of yours from your point of view? Isn't that what this is all about? Why would you want me to not put it on?
The Vanthorn lady, she wants something more vile than, well, than even I expected. This island, you see, it's on its way to its end, but I feel as if you know that already.
And I thought she wanted to use me towards her vile end, but apparently this was all for nothing. She just wanted to throw me down a hole.
What do you think the Vanthorn lady wants, in one word?
Maintenance?
Power.
She has power. I think she's afraid to lose it.
I have power. You might have power. The Lady Vanthorn, she has no power.
Does she know that? Really? She wants that kind of power?
She wants to be like you.
Oh dear. Oh, Evelyn. I am not sure how that makes me feel.
I'll tell you how this story ends. With no intervention, you become a monster. A real monster. Just as bad as me. Lady Evelyn Vanthorn, she harnesses that power and becomes a monster herself. 2, 3, 4 times as bad as either you and I can hope to attain. Because she has something that we don't. You of all people should know what that is.
She has a lot of things. I don't. I don't know what you have. Do you mean the king?
The king is worthless, a symbol of a better time.
She says she no longer has my aunt.
She says. And where did she say your aunt is?
I thought she said she'd lost her.
Where did she lose her, is the question.
I don't remember.
Come on now, Dr. Glass. You're the one who I was betting on.
In the void, I assume.
she discovered something new in her incessant digging. Something old. A temple. Underground.
How? When? Who sent her here?
Who indeed? Know that if you use this necklace, it connects us in a way that I previously was connected to the lady herself.
Is that why she was able to tear through us like that? Because of you?
I hate to refer to myself as a prisoner, but even the lady has found a way.
Have I freed you? Mr. Hunter, sir?
No. If only it were that easy. But this is one of her many charms.
I don't want you to worry that I'm not afraid of you. I know right now I'm speaking very... My mind is still mostly mortal, as far as I'm aware. And we've moved a bit past its capacity to experience the amount of fear. But I mean no disrespect. I don't think.
The point of all this is you're the one who brings annihilation, at least by every account that I can foresee.
Sounds like me.
And if you leave yourself vulnerable, I will come to stop it. And technically, when you use this necklace, its active ability, there is a 10% chance that you will be connected to your hunter. And you will have to succeed on an intelligence saving throw to be dangerously connected. I don't want you to underestimate the powers that I have. I'm sure you don't. I'll leave you a parting gift for your rest. Ta-ta. And the connection it severs. The door to this place, which can't be sealed forever, only by an extreme exertion of will, allows you to return. As you return, you are in an opulent room. A chaste lounge, sofas, a gramophone, a grand piano, and just at the end of it, the cavernous entryway to the space that you entered, leading right back to where this room has been transformed into a real, elaborate manor to look just like that which would have been part of the Bordoon family's ownership. As Christoph, you step back in with whatever you fetched from the kitchen.
From within the kitchen, Christoph had grabbed onto a loose piece of bark and root, reached over to it, and through his own veins, piercing through it, going through his skin, they start to connect to one another. You see him... just a small thing, too big. And from that veins, as they start to grow, fruit start to sprout, flower, and then start to bloom and become bulbous and large until he's light yellow with hints of green berries start to emerge, and he collects them, rips out the roots from his wrist and starts to bleed a little bit. He starts to wrap it around a little bit. Okay, one down. And there's a bit of a drip coming from one of the other caverns. Almost just stares at the water dripping. Gouts of water starts to pour out as he will both cast Goodberry and create water.
That is a beautifully disturbing image of Goodberry. You have the good berries in water, and you step in to this perfect recreation of your most grand and opulent guest quarters that you would have seen at the Bordoon family estate. Real.
Christoph, before he enters in the little chamber that we're all relaxing in, takes a big inhale, exhale, and his mind just starts to wander towards his father and his mother and his sisters. And there's a bit of wanting, and then kind of a rejection. It starts to go through his mind that they didn't even put up posters. They didn't even look for him. Turns around the corner. Hello, my friends. I brought over some fresh water if you're thirsty. I've also got a bit of fruit if you're interested. It's very filling. It's been my diet for a while now. Presents you the food. Relax, enjoy, eat.
That'd be marvelous. Actually, he goes to inspect the water, not to inspect the water, but just mesmerized that, presumably so, it's better water that he could conjure up himself at the moment. And he partakes.
You find an unusual amount of rest this evening. Wait, evening? Do we even know that it's evening? Who can tell? You're in a cavern underground with a room made to look like a real opulent estate. We're far past the realm of normalcy. But what's most notable is that you will be comfortable for a full rest, should you take it.
Nah, I'm good on 1 HP.
And just as a reminder to people listening, we use a little bit of a homebrew resting mechanic. We have a short rest, a long rest, and a full rest, just to make the trip a little more dangerous and harder to manage, as a full rest is the only thing that gives you a full restoration. I think there's one more thing that we wanted to address, which is Nihilus. Nihilus, you find a comfortable spot, and you have the skull.
First, he simply puts it down. He not touch it, unchains it from the hooks, and breathe for a moment. Let there be space. And as he tries to come to his mind, he's going to try something. He's going to envision himself being back at Kieranstone, being back in Stonenvale, his hometown where his mother, Alyssa, is still there, and his dad, the baker, is doing God knows what. And it's just a summer breeze. And as he has this image, he's going to close his eyes. With one hand, he's going to grasp his holy charm from Saurus, and with the other, he's going to place the hand on the skull. Just keep to that thoughts. He's not trying to force a conversation, but he's just relaxing his muscles, opening up his mind, and trying to be freeful, meditate, and rest. If there is going to be a relationship with Mordecai, one that could be sustainable for more than just a very harsh give and take, he needs to feel like he can be himself.
As you put your hand on the skull and you envision this place, you start to understand perhaps what it was like for Sam Van Thorn, because you were whisked into it. And Stonenvale, with its distant green lush mountains and equally distant large city of Kieranstone, somehow always present, its billows ever present on the horizon. This is a quiet town. And there's a temple here, is there not? Yours.
One and only.
And you stand on these cobblestone streets as a carriage goes by. The inhabitants walk by you with loaves of bread being carried at their side. You feel the peace of this place that's so familiar to you. And where are you going?
Seeing with that snuff of bread walking around, he's gonna visit his father, Edward, the local baker. See how he's doing. His mother hasn't been feeling that well, Alyssa, but usually they're always together. But now at the bakery, Edward should be alone. Although he's usually always busy, he's gonna see if he catches him at a good moment or not. It is sunny today, after all.
Nihilus, come on, hurry! I need your help! He is carrying a tray of baked bread, and you see a little bit of smoke coming out of the oven. Hurry, it's overcooking!
As expected, he turns off his jacket, puts his down sleeves up, and he puts in the work. And, every now and then, whenever good old dad is not watching, he springs a little bit of prestidigitation on it, just a little bit of extra flair. Dad wants to do the old-fashioned work in, but a little bit of magic there.
The little charred bits, they just kind of crumble off as you prestidigitate the perfect loaf as it comes out. Good boy.
Thank you. Dad, how are you doing? I know Mom is feeling ill these days. I'm going to be traveling away soon again. It's one of the many excursions of becoming an Inquisitor. You're going to be alright.
I'll take care of your mother. Don't you worry about that.
And who's going to be taking care of you then, eh?
I'll take care of me. I just need me, and her. Would be nice to have you, but you've got more important things.
Right. Well, I know you have your own ways, but look, Father Patrick is here. You can always go up to talk to him. It would do you good.
All right. And he takes his hand and tosses your hair. I'll talk to the priest if it makes you feel better.
And to give the viewers a bit of a picture, Nihilus is a midget compared to the dad. Nihilus is an average build man. He's a bit on the skinny side, but the dad is a beefcake of a baker. Like, if the locals need any physical help, the dad's there to do it. Right. It's just, try to take some time for yourself. I'm going to be visiting Mother soon again. I'll send her your best.
Right. Hey, look out after the shop for me for a moment, will you?
Sure. What you going up to? Local fisher?
No. I've got a new idea for fruit with the bread.
You and fruit, all right.
I'm gonna knead it into the dough. I'm hoping the strawberries give it some red color.
All right. I'll take care of it. Don't you worry.
He lumbers around the counter. Nothing's in the oven. No pressure. As he steps out, and you smell that fresh baked smell of bread. You hear the movement of the small town outside. What a contrast this is to everything you've experienced just recently. But a patron walks in.
Well, greetings. Von Stonen's Bakery. Don't worry, the bread is not as hard as the name.
Never been here before. Is it good?
It's the best in town. Also, the only bakery in town. But don't let that fool you. Are you passing by then?
Just passing through. I'm with the testimonium.
Oh. He pushes away some dust, makes himself a little bit more presentable in a quick way. I hadn't realized.
Oh, is that yours? He looks over at the robe that you've thrown over the counter.
Yes, Nihilus von Stonen, priest from the Saurus Testimonium. I aim to be an Inquisitor soon.
Nihilus von Stonen. What an eloquent name. He reaches his hand over the counter, confidently, with a bright, cheery-eyed, kind of red flush to his face. He goes to shake your hand.
Oh, my, what brings you all the way out here to the little town of Stonenvale?
Actually, came to see you.
His face gesture changes up a bit more to the defensive. He gives him a firm handshake.
Mordecai, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, I suppose, in the flesh this time?
What do you mean? Flesh? Is that a joke?
No. Don't let me ramble on. So, you want to try something?
Yeah. Show me what you got.
Very well. And he's been here a couple of times. He does work around the shop whenever he can, and he just what they have to offer. It's a small town. And in terms of bakery, it's usually from these very large loaves of breads, which a family would get for their entire family. So for a small loner that's just traveling by, there's not much of like these little bakery thingies, but does go into the back and notices that his dad has been working on something sweet and kind of like a cake-ish with flour and sugar on it. Doesn't look like it's done. He's going to flourish it up, adding a sweet scent to it, and then offer it up on a platter. Here, on the house. Try it out.
Thanks. He takes it, he takes a bite into it, and you see him pause for a moment, and a smile comes upon the, like, creases of his mouth. Oh my. Your dad made this?
He certainly did. He's been at this craft for over 40 years by now.
It's amazing what you can do when you set your mind to it. You could do anything. Just practice. 40 years is such a long time.
Mm-hmm. He learned this from his dad and his father before that, and...
That was your dad? The guy who was stepping out just before...
Yes.
Oh.
Edward.
Wow.
Are you staying here for long? What brings you here on the way to the capital? You're a bit off.
Something told me I need to go see Nihilus. I don't even know where that name came from. Stone and Vale.
You're with the testimonium, you say?
Was. No. M.
You're unsure?
I'm not sure. It all kind of fades together. You said your dad was at it for 40 years?
This craft, yeah. I think 40, 42 at this point.
The testimonium. What's the highest order?
Order as in ranking a person?
Yeah, if you were going to be a priest, or no, an inquisitor. If you were going to be an inquisitor for 40 years, where would you go? At the top.
Well, Inquisitor is a very unique role. We dedicate it to a few. It allows them to have more responsibility in roaming, although it is very difficult. But eventually, you become an elder. Once you're chosen by other elders and accepted into that, you join the community as per se as one of their leaders. You gain more responsibility for decision making. Usually a single town would have one elder, or sometimes even multiple towns to oversee it. You don't need to be an inquisitor to become one of these elders, yet usually it helps. And then there's something about that, but it's just a myth. It's nothing confirmed.
I would love to hear it. What's the myth?
Well, you see, so you have the elders, but there's also the voice of Soros himself that he's still being told into the ears of the few. Well, anyone.
The Vox Deus Veritas.
Yes, you've heard of them. Well, it's a very interesting class, actually. The Vox Deus Veritas. Well, anyone can just...
The voice of God.
Yes, well, anyone can just say that they heard God if they want to impersonate it. So instead of granting the rank to any hearsayer who shouts out wolf, it is to an unknown dedicated few. It's anonymous. It could be a single person, or it could be a whole generation, perhaps every elder. The thing is, you don't know, but the Vox Deus Veritas, they send their magical messages to any inquisitor, even to the local priests, and see, that's why these inquisitors are so important. They carry out the messages of the Vox Deus Veritas. But who they are, who is them, is a myth. So it exists, yet it doesn't. So there's this leadership, but it's fair.
He looks almost doe-eyed as you carry on and on, excitedly talking about the Vox Deus Veritas and the Testimonium, and finally, almost a break in the candor of this conversation, you see his tone become somber, almost sad. So, what you're saying is the person in charge is this unknowable mystery that you can never hope to attain.
Right. So you have to trust in Soros, trust in its path and its judgment ought to be well.
Trust must come easily to you.
It's important, don't you think? Trust thy neighbor, trust thy fellow.
But what happens when you can't trust? What happens if the person is proven that they're beyond trust? Then what?
Trust is often like a still lake. Once you have the trust, and it's there. It's easy to maintain. Every simple ripple, you can control it, you can manifest it. But if there's no trust, then it's just a river, it's crackling, it's unbarreling, it's like trust isn't even there. So, like anything in life, like my father for the last 40 years, how does that tapestry become good? Step by step. You build logs in order to stop the rivers from flowing into the lake. You fix the issues of where did trust be misplaced? Why was it broken in the first place? I believe that anyone and everyone can trust people. If that trust is broken, if they can't care, if they don't have someone for them, then it is up to you to try to lend a hand.
Huh. Well, I think I get it. There's a silence, a pause. I'd like for you to roll for me a persuasion check with a DC of 19.
Will do. For a total of 11.
There has to be something more. Trust can't come easily. People aren't trustworthy. Most of them aren't trustworthy. Even the testimonium assumes guilt, and you have to trust that when you carry out its swift and guilty punishment, that command is a fair one. But what if it's not?
What are you trying to say? Think that Soros' teachings?
You would kill on behalf of Soros without trust that the victim deserves to die? Is that what Inquisitors do?
He starts to fluster a bit. No, an Inquisitor should learn, follow Soros' teachings in order to understand the difference between what is right and what is wrong. To follow the order is to trust your fellow elders and Inquisitors to that exact same thing. It is the relationship, the dynasty between which build it so great.
Your father, he walks back into the bakery and breaking the tension. Oh, hello? New patron? Do you trust him? He leans in as your father kind of walks by. He doesn't seem cognizant that there is a conversation happening. He's almost absent to this interaction between you and this person. He goes about baking and throwing the next tray into the oven.
My father?
Yeah.
Of course. I've known him my whole life.
What if the testimonium said that he should die? What if he was a sinner and irredeemably so?
Then I think there would be an error. You don't get judged quickly to be put to death. It is a last case scenario if one is truly a heretic, an evildoer. My father is not one of those people. Sadly, some are born wrongly, and it is the source testimonium and its followers in order to set things right. Up to us.
He takes a step to the right, as if moving out of the way of something that he's standing in front of. And as if out of thin air, there's a man masked and gagged tied to a chair. It's the same one that you carried out your first execution on to become an Inquisitor. Is this man a heretic? The testimonium said he's a heretic. Is this man to be put to death?
He must have been. Nihilus tries to avert the way, not look at it.
And you say that because you trust. Is that right?
Of course, trust I did trust my elders. It must have been right.
Then he is a heretic. And as you turn, you see your father is tied to a chair.
No. Okay, that's enough for the games. Nihilus tries to hold his holy amulet and use a cantrip, prestidigitation to, just like it would open a door, try to untie the tie.
I would need an intelligence saving throw. The DC is a 25.
And Nihilus rolled a 16 for a total of 24, failing it by 1.
You think of doing this. You go to move your hands and move your mouth and cast the spell, but you're not able to. I'm just asking a question. Do you trust when the testimonium says to kill this man?
Look, this has clearly been a mistake, an error. I understand. It's my father. With my entire life is an error. I've got the wrong guy.
Mm-hmm. He looks up and you see the floorboards above in this house are now wet and damp and like a little bit tinged green and dripping. And you look down and you see the floorboards on the floor are now also starting to look withered. I'm not understanding your logic here. You said I got it wrong, but I didn't get it wrong. I didn't tell you to kill this man. The Vox Deus Veritas, the word of God, has told you to kill this man. Who are you to question the word of God?
There has been no message of such. They wouldn't damn this man.
But look! And he turns to the right and you see Father Patrick now entered suddenly into the scene. And almost like a little marionette, you hear, "You should kill this man, Nihilus. He has been a sinner, a heretic."
No, maybe it's an Edward in Valenstone. Look, this is clearly the wrong person. I'm telling you, this man is innocent. He's my father. I am an inquisitor. I am to be an inquisitor. I was an inquisitor. Look, I'm telling you, take my word for it. This man is innocent. Do not lay a hand on him.
The walls, they start to rot from the sides. You see the building, it's starting to cave inward from above you as the sky becomes visible in the falling pieces of the building. You see the prisoner who was used as the first example. He rots to the floor, and this man who stands before you, he withers to bone, a skull atop a skeleton. And then you hear, the voice echoes into the distance. As the building withers, you see so does the whole town. And the only two people standing, remaining, your father tied to a chair, and your mother just several doors down.
No.
There is no trust. There is only obedience.
Mordecai, you've got it wrong. There can be trust. There can be a way for us to move forward. I know you have your own plans and work together. Let there be trust. Who broke your heart? Who broke your leg? Let us build the first twig, the first dam. Can you not imagine how powerful you could be? The right set is an opportunity. You know what I can be capable of. I defied Source's testimonium.
Please roll a persuasion check with a DC of equally 25. And note that this is a campaign-changing roll.
Nihilus does so with every focus and tingle in his body, as I, gently please, ask the DM if I can use guidance.
You can use guidance.
Very well. Nihilus roll for a total of 1.
Please roll an intelligence saving throw with a DC of 25.
Good old 14.
You realize that you can conjure worlds from within the consciousness of the skull. You just did it. You also realize that you are given that opportunity and you don't take it, because as the world withers around you, as the buildings now start to sink into the ground, as everything begins to sink into the ground, you're ripped out of this place and you become conscious. And first, you see the ceiling. You look to the right and you see others are sleeping. They're taking their rest. You don't feel like you can speak. Your voice just, nothing comes out. And as you tilt your head to look down, you see everything below your chest has turned to rot. It's just you, ahead, voiceless, soaking maggot-filled fluids into the upholstery. And that's where we'll end the session.